All right. Welcome to the Productivity Show, the podcast where we believe you can get the important things done without having to sacrifice your health, family, and things that matter to you. My name is Brooks. I'm from Asian Efficiency, where we help people become more productive at work and in life. And today I am not joined by my normal co-host, Tan, the CEO of Asian Efficiency. I'm actually super excited to be joined by a member of our Productivity Academy community to the podcast. So Kimberly Charron, did I say that right? I should have specified that.
It's just Sharon.
Sharon. Okay. Well, apologies. Kimberly
No.
Charron. Kimberly's a certified online business manager in Halifax, Nova Scotia. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first all Canadian episode of the Productivity Show. So we're slowly and surely taking over. We are going to be talking about Windows apps today, and we're going to be getting into a bunch of Windows stuff. But before we get into that and learn a bit more about you, Kimberly, just thought I'd ask, how's it going? What's going on?
It's going great. It's a nice day today. We've been getting warm weather finally here on the East Coast, so pretty pumped to be able to get outside and go for walks. I'm not a
Yeah,
winter person. I'm not at all a winter person.
you are. For those who don't know Canada's geography, Kimberly is living in the absolute worst place in Canada to not be a or to not be a winter person, but we'll save that for another podcast because this episode is all about Windows productivity. So if you use Windows at work or at home, you're going to want to listen to this episode. Even if you're a Mac user, even if you don't use Windows regularly, maybe you have Windows users in your life, like you're sometimes asked to recommend apps for family members or colleagues or something like that. This episode is going to give you some great suggestions for that. We're also going to be talking about some of our favorite built-in settings and Microsoft 365 tips. So if you aren't able to install anything on your computer, which I know is actually really common for people who use Windows at work, you're still going to be able to take action on some of the things we talk about today. We always like to tease our next episode. So on our next episode, we're going to be talking about sleep tracking. Tan will be back for that. But we always start our episodes off with our top 3 resources. These are 3 things we're loving lately that are making us more productive. And since Kimberly, you are joining us today as a guest, thought I would throw it to you. Do you have 3 resources you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I have 3 I use every single day, all the time. The first is Toby Chrome extension for visually organized bookmarks. You can get it at gettoby.com. It is essential for me. I put all of my clients into a different area and then I organize. Actually, sometimes I have sub clients, so I can organize them into sub clients. So I can launch a dashboard like of 10 tabs all at once from Toby and be ready to do that client's work. And so I love Toby. My second one is Content Studio for social media management. That's contentstudio.io. There's another content studio there, so not to be confused. And I love that it's an all-in-one tool for social media management. So I can source things from it, source content from it. I can create content in it. It has an integration with Canva and with what used to be Trello, now VistaCreate. And it just does everything that I need in one tool, and I love that. And the third resource that I use is called Gist. I use that for live chat, for setting up meetings, for email marketing, etc. It's an all-in-one that encompasses all of that and it's integrated. And I have a lot of clients using it too, and that's at getgist.com. Those are the 3 things that I really couldn't do without.
Perfect. And we're going to have links to all of those in the show notes. So you can go in your podcast app and check those out, or you can go to theproductivityshow.com/417, and they'll all be linked there. Now, before we get into the Windows topics, Kimberly, maybe you can tell us first a little bit more about yourself and what you do, but also I have a feeling that the online business manager is like a title or a career that not too many people are familiar with. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what that is as well. Not just an online business manager, but a certified online business manager. So maybe you can tell us about that too.
Yeah, I'm a certified online business manager. The certification, if you were to get it today, it takes about 6 months, and you have to take a 5 day long exam to get certified. So I went through that 5 day long exam and 2 years ago, and I love being an online business manager. What I do is I allow the business owner to really focus on their the work that only they can do, and I help manage their team. I manage their metrics, their projects, and their their ops, so that they can just focus on their genius work and they don't have to worry about getting into the weeds of their business. You're muted.
Perfect. Well, one thing that when I was asking you, just a little bit about your background, one thing you mentioned is, and this is in your words, you're a total geek and you love tech. So we are perfectly going to vibe today because that is definitely my thing as well. And really, really thankful to have you here. So let's get into the Windows part of the show. And as I promised, we want to make sure that we have some things for people who aren't able to install things on their computer. So I'm going to talk about some of my very favorite built-in settings. And Kimberly, maybe I'll ask you to chime in if you use any of these. These are things that are, some of them might only be for the latest version of Windows, Windows 11 at the time of recording, but there's usually a version of these depending on how far back you go. So, and we're going to be talking about through some of these, and I recognize this is a little bit difficult on an audio podcast to visualize. I'll do my best, but if you want to see a video of all this, we actually have a live masterclass about this in our Productivity Academy. So I'll make sure to link that as well. But here are some of my favorites. Number one is the ability to hide all the desktop icons. I like a clean desktop, but I know a lot of times we just want to save things temporarily to the desktop, or a lot of times, especially on Windows, programs install like shortcuts to launch the apps on the desktop and stuff like that. But I actually don't like seeing any of that. I like a totally clean desktop. So this is very easy to do in Windows. Just right click on the desktop, go to View, and then uncheck Show Desktop Icons. And yeah, you can have as many icons stored on there as you want. You just will never see them. You can go, if you want to get to your stuff, you can go to it through the File Explorer, but you won't see it on the desktop. That's number one. Number two is Focus Assist. So Focus Assist is a really great way to control what apps and what people, frankly, are interrupting you and in what circumstances. So you can set it so that only certain notifications or even no notifications come through at certain times or only from certain apps. The easiest way to start all this is to right-click on the bottom right-hand corner of your taskbar, and there should be an option there for Settings or Focus Assist. Now, Kimberly, I know for a fact that you use this one because you told me that when I first talked to you about coming on the podcast, you actually didn't see my message for a while because you were in Focus Assist mode. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you use that.
Yes, actually, after the last masterclass, or during, in fact, the last masterclass, I learned how to use Focus Assist, and I set it up so that whenever I open the camera, that it turns on Focus Assist so nothing interrupts me. And it worked when Brooks was messaging me, so that was great.
Perfect. Next is a setting called Storage Sense. So you can have Windows automatically clean up temporary files, even your recycle bin, even if you want your downloads folder, that's a total optional thing. And you can have it automatically do that. You can have it when you get low on hard drive space, which of course happens a lot on laptops, but also you can have it scheduled on a regular basis, or you can kick it off manually. So if you find yourself kind of running out of space, you can use Storage Sense to keep your computer nice and clear. The next one, and this is probably my favorite setting, frankly, is a feature generally called Snap. It's been around for a really long time on Windows, but they've made some improvements recently. Basically, if you have a window, just click on the on the top bar and drag it all the way over to the left or to the right, and you'll see that will automatically fill up half the screen and then ask you what you want to have on your other half. So that's been around for a long time, and I use this all the time when I want to have things side by side. But also, if you hover over the maximize button, so the top right corner of your window, the maximize button, which we've all been clicking since Windows 3.0, if you just hover over there, it gives you a bunch of snap layouts. So you can lay out your screen exactly how you want. You don't have to be fiddling around with dragging window sizes and stuff like that. So that is probably my favorite Windows tip that I use all the time. And then finally, a lot of people don't know this, but Windows, and this is something I wish Mac had for sure, Windows actually has a built-in clipboard history. And if you go Windows V, what you should see is a list of the last few things that you've copied to your clipboard. Now, if you don't have that, there is a setting, it's somewhere in settings, and I can post a message in the show notes saying where that's going to be. But there is a setting that you may have to turn on, but clipboard's history is one of my very favorite productivity features. I use it all the time. On the Mac, you need to install a separate program for this, but on Windows, there are programs that will do it, but you don't need to. You can have it built right in. Kimberly, do you use Kimberly, do you use clipboard history at all?
Yes, I do. I love that feature. And I learned about it in a past Asian efficiency podcast, I think, or one of the master classes. I use all of these tips and I learned them all through you. So thank you.
Yes, I'm embracing my second career as a Windows influencer. In the live stream, we record these episodes live with our Productivity Academy. Kimberly is generally here every week, or most weeks, I should say, joining us, unless there's something else going on. Alice says that clipboard history is her favorite. And yeah, it's one of my favorites as well. All right, so those are some built-in features. So I would definitely recommend, even if you can't install anything, check those out. And now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what I often call is the most popular productivity app in the world, I would say, and that's Outlook, and also Microsoft 365 in general. So many people, whether they do it by choice or whether they have no choice, use Outlook and Microsoft 365. And there's some really great tips that you can do to be more productive. We even have courses on that. I can link to that in the show notes, but even if you don't want to do all that, there are some tips that you can do to be more productive with Outlook in general and Microsoft 365, Office, Word, Excel, all that sort of stuff. So Kimberly, I know this is something you use quite a bit. So maybe can you share some tips that make you more productive using 365?
Absolutely. Tip number one, you can attach a document right from within Word or Excel to your Outlook email. So it's a nice feature for if you've just finished the document and you want to send it off. You just click the file at the top, and then share, and then you choose to attach a copy as a doc or a PDF in Word, or if you're in Excel, you click the blue send button and you can send right from within Word or Excel. Tip number two is how to open Office apps on a blank doc instead of the start screen. So you have a lot of extra, when you have a lot of extra steps throughout the day when you're opening up Word again, and you have to go through the start and then click on, open a new document. So if you want to open Word just in a new document, every time you open Word, click File, then click Options. Then when you scroll down, you'll see check marked, tell me if Microsoft Word isn't the default program for viewing and editing, and you'll see show the start screen when this application starts. So you want to uncheck both those options and then click the OK button, and then you'll see that you can, whenever you open up Word, it will open up a new document for you. This is great if you're one of those people who opens up documents through file folders, or through your folders that you have on your system instead of through Word, which a lot of us do. And of course, to make it even easier, is set up a shortcut. Like I have, I hold down Control Shift and then press W, and Word pops up. So my Word pops up with a new document ready to go if I just click Control Shift W. And tip number three, Outlook has built-in keyboard shortcuts too. Yay, keyboard shortcuts, I love them. If you use Control plus R while you're in Outlook, it'll reply to the email, it'll start a new draft. Control plus period will switch to the next message. Control plus comma will switch to the previous message. If you don't want to hit the arrow keys, for instance, and because if you're in an email, hitting the left arrow key will collapse the email thread. And if you hit the right arrow key, it'll expand your group of nested emails, which is really handy because then you can see the email right there and you can click on the right one instead of sitting there and scrolling down to the last email that you want. You can see all the nested emails right in brief on the left-hand side, and then you can grab the one that you want to read there.
Yeah, I think if you get nothing else out of this episode, if you're somebody who lives in Outlook, just learning a few keyboard shortcuts, you don't need to learn a lot, but just learning a few of the most common things you do will just save you so much time during the day. So highly recommend that. And number two, I honestly can't believe this. I did not know that you can turn off that, or it never occurred to me to turn off that start screen in the Office programs. I'm sure they all have it. And wow, that would save up so much time. If all you want to do is create a quick document, you don't want to have to like choose new and stuff like that. You want it to just go to the new document. So highly recommend that as well as if you use Office. Yeah, so thanks, Kimberly, for those tips. That's great. Now let's get into some Windows productivity apps. And I'm going to start with one which is not so much an app, but a collection of apps. And that is called Microsoft Power Toys. I was thinking about this because I was trying to think, I've used Windows for a really, really long time, since I think 3.0. My parents gave it to me for Christmas one year, and it came in this humongous box of floppy disks. And I was thinking about Power Toys, and I think the first version I had was with Windows 95, and you had to get it on a CD. And I've been using like some version of them ever since. And what Microsoft Power Toys are these collection of small little utilities that just enhance Windows just a little bit, but using a bunch of them can really, really make you more productive. So some handy power toys that I recommend anyway are, number one, fancy zones. So I talked about those snap layouts. Well, fancy zones will allow you to, first of all, there are more layouts, but it also allows you to define your own custom layouts. So fancy zones is one. Image resizer, if you find yourself resizing a lot of images, image resizer actually makes it so you can just right click on an image and resize it right there. You don't have to use some separate program. There's one called Power Toys Run, which is a program launcher. I know some members of Productivity Academy like using this one as well. It's kind of like a simplified version of programs we've talked about on the show before, like Alfred on the Mac, or Walks is a Windows one, but you can get it right from Microsoft. It's much more simplified, but it gets the job done. And there's just lots more. And so we'll have a link in the show notes to where you can install these Power Toys. Kimberly, do you use any Power Toys at all?
I have never used these, so I have something new to play with now. I'm definitely checking these out. I'm especially excited about the image resizer.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you do it regularly, like if you only resize images every so often, it doesn't make a big difference. But if it's something you do a lot, it's really, really handy. So that's number one, Microsoft Power Toys. The second app I want to highlight is called Snagit. Now, we have talked about this before. I think it was episode 375. Tan and I listed our very favorite productivity apps, and I think I chose Snagit as one of mine, and I still stand by that. What Snagit does is it lets you capture and use images and videos to share ideas, give feedback, communicate more effectively. This is one of my most commonly used apps. I use it on Windows, but I also use it on my Mac. And there's lots of different ways to take screenshots. Windows has it built in, Mac has it built in. Those are all fine. But I find having one program that kind of does it all and allows you to have keyboard shortcuts, and you can put arrows, you can make animated GIFs. You can, so if you've ever seen a blog post of mine that has little moving images, those were all made in Snagit. You can record a scrolling screen. So if you have like an extra long document or web page that you want want to show that goes off the screen, you can record the whole thing in one image, which is really great. It has, like I said, keyboard shortcuts. You can do really advanced things, like you can have steps. So if you want to show somebody like a progression of things with like 1, 2, 3, you can do that all in Snagit. And you can share and upload to a bunch of different locations and services from within the app. So you don't have to go and upload it to Dropbox or different websites. You could build it all into Snagit as well. So that is one of my very favorite apps. Kimberly, have you ever used Snagit?
I use it every day. I especially love the ability to capture text in an image. And I love being able to record the scrolling screen, because a lot of clients, they do launches regularly, and then, we retire their landing pages. So it's nice to have a copy of that landing page as it looks. If you grab a PDF, you lose a lot of what it really looks like live. So it's one of the ways to record it.
Yeah, I would say, Snagit is obviously the tool that we like. I think the kind of like higher level thing is if you find yourself sharing information, some sort of screenshot tool, even if you use the one built into Windows, learning to use that and learning how to use it efficiently can make a big difference for sharing ideas and collaborating with others. So we like Snagit. Sounds like we're both in there all day long. And if you don't want to use that, if you just want to use the built-in one, that's fine. But have some way of doing it. Awesome.
So if you're looking for it, it's called Snipping Tool in Windows.
Yeah, the Windows one is called Snipping Tool. Thank you. I'll make sure to include that in the show notes. All right, so that is our second app. So first one was Power Toys, which comes from Microsoft. The second one is Snagit, which comes from TechSmith, who's the maker of Camtasia, which is a much bigger video editing suite, which is also good. The third app is one we've talked about on the podcast before, so I felt like we kind of had to include it, and that is File Juggler. Now, you may have heard us talk about a Mac app all the time called Hazel. This is a tool that allows you to create automatic rules to automatically organize your files and take automatic actions on your computer. And so Hazel is a really popular one on the Mac, but there's a one that is almost as good as Hazel. It's not quite, but it's not bad, and it's called File Juggler. And what this is great for is automatically organizing files. It's really great if you're somebody who goes paperless. So if you want to organize your paperless documents, if you want to organize your media files, or anything that you deal with kind of over and over that you can create repeatable rules for, File Juggler can help you automatically organize it. So you could, as an example, you could scan or download a bank statement. File Juggler can see it, automatically rename it with the document's date, the name of the bank, and then automatically move it to your bank statements folder. So it kind of like takes the heavy lifting out of going paperless, as one example, but it's not just for PDFs, it's for all types of files. Now, we talked earlier about how Storage Sense can automatically clear out your downloads folder. So that's one thing you can do, but File Juggler could do that as well. So if you want to automatically clean off your desktop, maybe move old files to some other folder, or move old files from your downloads to some other folder, or even delete them if you're brave, File Juggler can do all that as well. Do you do any kind of automatic organization, Kimberly, or is it more of a manual thing for you?
Yeah, it's manual right now. It's on my list, File Juggler, because I really do need to get that automated. I love automation, so it's on my list. I have to play with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I have to take some sort of blame or credit for part of File Juggler, because it used to only work by looking at the file names of files. But I wrote the developer and I asked if it could work like Hazel, where it could look inside the file and grab the text or the date. And now it does. So I'm really, really, really happy about that.
Oh, that's awesome when tech founders are responsive like that. Awesome.
Now, the one thing I will say about File Juggler, the flip side of that is that it is made by a single developer who also has a day job. So he while he is responsive, it's not updated as much as it used to be. It still works. And he said recently on Twitter that he's working on a new beta version. But if you go and you see it hasn't been updated for a while, don't be scared. It apparently is not abandonware. At least that's what he says. But, you can give the free trial a try and see how it goes for you. Franklin in the live stream chat says he uses File Juggler every day. So that's good to hear. All right, now this final app that we wanted to talk about is one that you recommended, and I was actually really happy that you recommended it because this is an app I've used in the past, and I wasn't sure how broadly accepted it would be, but if you recommended it and we both did, then I think it's a win, and that is called Notepad++. Kimberly, since you're the one who recommended it, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Notepad++ is and how you use it?
Well, Notepad++ is a great replacement for the built-in Notepad. Before I was using Notepad just basically to strip all the extraneous data from any words, text that I was copy and pasting. Because a lot of times if you're using dark mode like I do, you copy and paste the dark mode into a document, which is really annoying. So if you pop it in Notepad first or Notepad++, it strips that, which is terrific. I also, the reason I started using Notepad++ was because I needed to create an SRT file, and you can't do that with Notepad, but you can with Notepad++. You can save it as a .srt file, and that's for captions. So for uploading captions, if you're uploading captions to go along with a video, which I do sometimes for clients, or I set that up as a workflow. So it's a nice option to be able to plop. If you have something that doesn't create an SRT file automatically, you can create one. But so yeah, it's free and open source, just like Notepad. It just isn't on your computer. You just have to grab it.
Yep, we'll have links to download that. And yeah, it's a more powerful version of Notepad. I think if you are just occasionally taking little notes, Notepad is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's been around forever and it's there. But if you want to do something a little bit more advanced, use having multiple files open in tabs is a lot better than having a bunch of windows all over the place. It has really good search features. There's like all these little features, which if you're more of a regular power user of text and notes, and it's really, really popular with programmers too. I don't want to speak for you. I am not a programmer anymore, but I did used to be. But even if you're not a programmer, I think it's a good one. But if you do any type of coding or anything like that, or even just like modifying config files and that sort of thing, Notepad++ is really powerful for that.
I do a little bit of coding.
Nice. There you go. Right on. Awesome, Kimberly. Well, that is our Windows productivity apps we want to share. So Microsoft Power Toys, Snagit, File Juggler, and Notepad++. There's lots of great ones out there, but those are what we chose. If you are curious or if you have other suggestions, please feel free to hit us up on Twitter at Asian Efficiency, what your favorite Windows app is. I'm sure there's lots of different choices out there. Kimberly, before we go, I guess I should ask, since I didn't ask before, where can people find you? If somebody needs an online business manager or want to learn more about you, where can people find what you do?
Yeah, you can check out my website, KimberlyCharron.com. That's KimberlyCharron.com. And at the top of the page, you can add your name and email and grab 100+ things an OBM can do for you if you want.
Oh, I'm going to be grabbing that right after this. Perfect. All right. So we like to end every episode with an action item, something that people can take away and do. So what I would recommend is to, even though we've listed lots of different settings, tips, apps, I would say choose one built-in setting a Microsoft 365 tip or an app to try. Don't try to implement everything all at once. Just give one thing a try, learn it, try it out for maybe a week or something like that. Get it as part of your routine, and then move on to the next thing that sounds interesting to you. Don't try and implement it all. Just choose one thing to implement today and give it a try. Like I said before, our next episode, we're going to be covering sleep tracking, and you can find everything that we talked about, all the links and all that sort of stuff in the show notes at theproductivityshow.com/417. So Kimberly, thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciated it. You sharing your Windows expertise. And thanks again for listening. And we will see you next Productive Monday.